Time for a little first drive impression of a beautiful windshield pearl Capstone I-Force Max. We will do a walk around in the next video, but today let's drive this thing and see what it's all about with these big 22s. Fully loaded. Capstone looks good. It is raining, but that's not going to stop us. Let's get in here. Just before we step in, a real quick look. Aniline leather, little wood grain action, off-white, black headliner, pano moonroof. That black headliner is awesome. Beautiful. Of course, the weather never cooperates, but who cares, right? We have a Capstone in the driveway. Just a couple things before we start. Obviously, Capstone only comes in I-Force Max. It really only comes one way. The only difference is you can add the AVS load leveling suspension, but this is the 12-inch digital gauge cluster. It has the big 14-inch screen, JBL sound system. I mean, this trim is truly fully loaded, but just wanted to give you a shot of what the driver's looking at. Wireless charger, a nice area down here for all your storage and all the stuff like that. Cup holders if you don't want them, little wood grain to cover it up. But a nice driver compartment. Love the new steering wheel on the Tundra. Okay, before we take the Capstone for its first ride, there's always a couple things I like to do when I get these vehicles, kind of like a theme for the week. And the few things for the Capstone, number one is going to be how comfortable is the suspension, especially with those 22-inch wheel and tires. Is it going to be one of those bumpy kind of rides compared to, say, the TRD Pro or the TRD Off-Road that I've driven in the new generation? So suspension and ride is going to be a very big deal for me. And the good news is there's a lot of construction going on. Summer just ended down here, so we got some bumpy roads we could use and some uneven terrain, which will be a lot of fun. So that's number one, suspension. Number two, more importantly, does the Capstone make sense? With the Platinum and 1794 that have been around the wild, they have been kind of the top of the trims with luxury and everything. And this is a very nice truck just in the first impression, but does this make sense when you still have those two luxury trims, you know, in the configuration, in the lineup? Does the Capstone work and make sense? We're going to try to figure that out by the end of the week. But it's a very nice interior. It's a very nice layout as far as, you know, the windshield and everything. I love the black headliner. Toyota, if you're listening, just put it on all the trims. Everybody wants black on the headliner, all the way down SR, all the way up to this Capstone. But let's take this thing for a ride and see what the suspension feels like. Again, weather's not really cooperating, but who cares? It's a truck, right? The thing I always find myself doing when I get into the new gen Tundra is I go for the floor-mounted emergency brake that is on the last generation, which it is not here on the new generation Tundra. So this has the I-Force Max, obviously, so I'm very excited because I'm a huge fan of this engine. Here you go. The sound is good. The sound is fed in. Please keep that in mind, you know, if that matters to you. I love the layout of the new generation Tundra when it comes to interior. Say what you will about the truck if you're not a fan, or if you are a fan, but the interior is gotta be at the top of your list as massive improvement for the Toyota Tundra. I like these neat little, you know, niche interiors they have with each trim. Every trim has something unique to it when it comes to the look, which is pretty awesome. Like, this is the one we're sitting in right now, is $77,000, just over $77,000 on the window sticker. So if I'm spending that kind of money, I want something a little bit unique, something different. If I'm spending, you know, big dollars, you know, almost a house payment on these trucks. Online, these trucks are going for around 6 figures in some regions. So I want to make sure when I spend my money, I know what I spent it on. And they've really hit a lot of positive energy with these interiors. If you look, Platinum, 1794, Capstone, TRD Pro, especially TRD Pro with that optional red interior. They've done a lot of good things to make it so you know what you're driving. Black headliner. I'm going to talk about the black headliner probably this entire week. about how awesome it is. It ties everything together because you have a lot of black features, especially if you go down in like SR5 or Limited. The entire interior is all blacked out pretty much, so a black headliner would make a lot of sense. I would hope that is something they will do down the road, even if it's optional and you got to pay a little extra if you want it. I just know from talking to you guys for years that you wish the black headliner was available for even the last generation Tundra. But as far as ride, I always take the little through the neighborhood before I get on the main road, just to get a feel, kind of how it feels in the local roads, stop and go. Brakes are amazing on the new generation Tundra. Really doesn't matter what trim you get. So I've now driven the 2022 Limited TRD, the TRD Pro, and now the Capstone. So this is my third next generation Tundra we're driving here, and you know, it's awesome. There's a lot of things you got to get used to when it comes to, you know, some of the things that they're doing with these trucks. This is the new generation. There is no more V8. This iForce Max engine that we're driving in right now puts out a ton of power. You know, more than the old 5.7 liter V8, but you know, it is a twin turbo setup. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people want naturally aspirated, but unfortunately it's not available anymore. There's the iForce Max, and there's also the regular iForce, which is a non-hybrid version, but a very nice driving experience all the way around. You do have to get used to the iForce Max because it always feels like the vehicle is shutting off or stalling, which obviously is not the case. You know, sometimes it switches to battery, sometimes it switches to engine. That is very interesting when you're brand new to it. You do get used to it. When I had the TRD Pro, it took a little while to get used to, but you know, everything after a while, it just is what it is. But I would look down and have no oil pressure and be like, oh my goodness, it's braking and it's not even my truck. We're paying big dollars for this thing. But here we go. We're going out on the main road. Can't really do anything too crazy with the rain, but it just has amazing pickup. Amazing pickup. And even though it is fed-in sound, it is really good fed-in sound. The truck, center of gravity wise, feels amazing. It's really down into the road, especially with these big 22-inch wheels. It's down into the road a lot more than I thought it would be. It doesn't feel like it's swimming around the road. That's one thing with the older generation Tundra. There was a lot of body roll, and in all of these Tundras I've driven now for 2022 or new generation, there's just no body roll. It feels tight. The steering feels tight. It doesn't feel like you're up as high as you are. You know, it's a nice driving experience. It's quiet in the cabin. You know, this leather, the leather is another thing I wanted to see. This is aniline, semi-aniline leather, excuse me. You know, feels awesome. The new seats in these trucks are very good. I wasn't a huge fan of the old seat in the old gen. I have the Softex TRD Pro seats, and they're all right. They're not terrible. The Platinum, I liked those seats with the perforated leather a little bit more. The leather's a little bit more soft, but these are very comfortable in the new generation, even down when I was in the Limited. You know, you got a lot of bolstering on the inside there, and I like that. It makes you feel like you're sitting into the seat good, but it's a very comfortable ride. A lot more comfortable with this wheel and tire package than I thought it would be. So that's a huge plus. The heads-up display is pretty cool. You know, I have a little experience with the heads-up display with driving the Camry in 2018. That's the first time I ever used it for Toyota. But in front of me, it's really just showing me, you know, how I'm driving as far as eco mode. You know, am I being eco-friendly? It shows me the speed that I'm driving and the speed limit on the road. But very comfortable, no movement whatsoever. It's kind of a windy day. The wind is pushing from my left across the road to right. I don't feel it at all. Just high five to Toyota on the Capstone so far. I wasn't a big Capstone fan. I mean, I think it's cool to have like a Denali style truck up top. When it first came out, I was like, does that really make sense? Because we already have, like we said earlier in the video, the 1794 in Platinum. But you know what? It's a nice truck. It's something a little bit different. It's something that stands out, especially on the interior. To be honest with you, and we'll talk about this, you know, when we do our walk around and stuff, this has the automatic side steps that come out every time you open the door. You can shut those off, it looks like over here, but I would have those shut off all the way, because every time I'm stepping out, I forget they're there, and they don't come out immediately. And I'm telling you, I'm gonna bust an ankle by the time this video is over. But it's definitely a pleasure to drive. And I want to speak to the people right now that just are not a fan of the new generation Tundra. If you haven't had the opportunity to drive the truck, I strongly suggest you get out there and just give it a whirl. Drive that iForce, the regular 3.5 liter twin turbo V6. Drive this iForce Max. You will see a difference in the two. When I drove the regular iForce, I wasn't totally impressed. It took me a little while to get used to where I feel like you need to be in the truck as far as setting up the sport mode. It has drive modes in these things and all that. I felt like I had to do a little bit to kind of find how I like to drive the truck. But with the iForce Max like this, this thing is ready to go. It feels very powerful. I was an owner of, if you're new to the channel, I was an owner of a 2017 Supercharged Platinum. This truck has close to that feeling as far as power delivery. The difference between this and that supercharger was pretty much balls to the wall. You know, when you put your foot down, you heard a lot of noise, you felt it a lot. This is very linear. You don't feel the gears shift. It's just smooth as ice, and you're going on down the road. Everything's a little quiet. The fed-in sound does help. I know a lot of people don't like the fed-in sound. That's a big thing coming in through the speakers, but you know what? It sucks we don't have that sound on the outside anymore, because, you know, now it's a V6, it's a lot less of a noise. But in here, as long as I'm hearing it, you know, make the money worth it for me. If I'm spending almost 80K on this thing, give me a little bit of that engine noise that has the sound of what I would say close to the old TRD dual exhaust on the last generation Tundra. It's not obnoxious, it's not super loud, it just gives you a little grumble when you're getting up to speed, depending on how you're getting up to speed. But when we're cruising, if I'm just cruising like I just was with you guys there was no engine sound at all. All I can hear is I have the cooled seat on right now. That's the only thing I could hear that entire time. I don't know if you could hear it, listen. You could hear the fan in the seat, but you know, that's the only sound. Just ultimately very comfortable. Brakes are amazing. Brakes are absolutely amazing. The wheel and tire package don't feel very heavy. All these things that were running through my head when this truck was coming to me, I started to think about things I wanted to you know, start to pay attention to when it came to Capstone. Very happy I'm able to drive this truck. This is the new flagship Tundra trim. You know, very happy I'm able to get in it. I'm not really a big guy into like the crazy flash stuff, you know, when it comes to chrome everywhere and you know, big rims and small profile tires or low profile tires. That's not really my thing. I like the off-road look, like the TRD off-road or the TRD Pro. I really like a setup like a 1794 with the TRD off-road package, because you get a little bit of everything. You get that luxury, but you also get the off-road package, you know, Bilstein shocks, throttle control. You get a lot of options with that. So I'm not really into the ultimate luxury that this is supposed to be, but I'll tell you, it's a fun ride. It's nice to be able to test it. Looking out the front window, I could see the areas of the hoods where it says iForce Max, which is cool. You know, the hood design is nice. It's not overwhelming as far as you don't have to lean up to see anything. One thing with my TRD Pro, it has the fake hood scoop on it. And when I went from the 17 Platinum that didn't have any kind of hood scoop or any kind of bump in the middle to the 2020 TRD Pro, that was something I had to get used to, because, you know, it did take away a little bit of sight line when you were making a right turn. But this doesn't really have a sight line issue at all. The windshield is something you're probably going to have to get used to be honest. It feels like it's a little bit smaller. It looks like it's angled. I feel like I'm in a fighter jet a little bit, but you know what? I got the seat set up perfectly as far as height for me, and you know, it's no big deal. It just looks a little smaller in contrast to the old one. But you know, it's something you get used to. If you're new to the channel, make sure you go check out my 2022 limited playlist, because that's the first time I was in a next-gen Tundra, and you could kind of see me work out all the bugs mentally on what I thought about that truck. Now we're on our third new-gen Tundra, and I kind of know what to expect, and that's why I'm focusing on things like, is this interior something people should get? I will tell you a little bit of a spoiler alert. In getting in this press vehicle, now if you don't know what a press vehicle is, these vehicles get shipped around to journalists and reviewers like me, you know, for a week at a time to review, and that's basically what they do. But it has a lot of like a cream white interior in here, and I could see a lot of dirty spots already, and this truck is still very new. It only has 1,300 miles on it, so it's gonna get dirty in here. Leaning on this with your arm every day, this part is gonna get dirty. They should have made this black right here, but I could see a little bit of dirt everywhere. You know, nothing crazy. It's gonna happen. You need to know that going in. So if you're getting this to go off-road, or you're getting this to do, you know, crazy stuff with fire roads, towing, anything, taking it to the construction site, all of the above, please note that it may get a little bit dirty. Now, we're coming up to a very good part that I like to bring my trucks when I get to review them to. This is a series of sweeping turns. It's about a 30 mile an hour setup going through them. So I want to see, Does this truck have that sway that, you know, kind of my older generation Tundras have had quite a bit? My TRD Pro that I currently own does not have that issue, but other ones I've had, it's a big body sway. But let's see what it is with this big old wheel and tire package and this suspension. Does this truck want to turn over on itself? Does it pull me in the seat side to side? With this bolstering, it's going to help a lot, and it's not going to do it as bad as it could. So we're going in about 34 miles an hour. Not bad. I could definitely feel the truck pulling, but yeah, nothing to write home about. As you could see in the seat, you probably saw me not really move much. You know, they're pretty tight turns. This one's a little bit tighter. Suspension stays grounded really nice. Good amount of driver feedback. That's one thing I will say I'm pretty happy when it comes to this setup. The driver feedback aspect is there. I don't feel like I'm floating on a cloud, you know, with the suspension or anything like that. Everything feels really nice, and everything feels like it's giving me the driving experience I need to get down the road comfortably and know what the truck is all about. For the third time in this video, I'm going to mention the brakes. The brakes are amazing. There is literally zero brake dive. It's a very smooth experience. You start putting your foot on the pedal, no big deal. Takes care of the truck, no lunging. Some of the Tundras I've driven in the past, they had a little bit of brake dive. Again, my TRD Pro 2020 does not have brake dive, but this one feels good. I don't know. I'm looking for some cons to give you. I think the only cons I'm going to give you right now, and it really doesn't have much to do with driving experience, it has to do with what I just said when we were on the bridge over there. This interior is going to get a little dirty, and something you need to know, you know, when getting into this truck and spending this kind of money. You're going to have to upkeep this interior to keep it pretty, or else over time, and it won't take very long, like I said, 1,300 miles on this, there's dirt spots everywhere. Over time, it's going to get a little ugly. But, you know, I expected to tell you my cons. I made a list of, I call it potential cons. I expected to tell you, you know, the wheel and tire package it's no bueno. But this road's a little bit bumpy, so this is a good experience here. Nothing crazy. This is on road, so it's nothing like we're going to see if we were in Moab or anything like that. But this road's a little bumpy, and, you know, it soaks up the bumps well, not as well as the TRD Pro suspension, but the TRD off-road suspension was a little jittery on this too, and you know, it just rides the bumps nicely. You feel the bump under you, but you don't feel like the ultimate shock. Like, it's not knocking me around or anything like that. I feel it under me. Like I said, it's a lower profile sidewall on the tire, so naturally you're going to feel those bumps a little bit more. And that's going to do it for our first drive impressions video of the 2022 Capstone in the beautiful Windshield Pro. Looks great. It's one of those colors that it depends on what the sky is doing. Is it cloudy? Is it sunny? It has a very unique look to it, kind of that off-white with a little sparkle in it. I'm a big fan, and it belongs on a truck like this that's high luxury. So far I'm impressed with the feel of the truck. I would have lost the bet and had to do push-ups because the wheel and tire package and the suspension actually work really well together, giving a good amount of feedback to the driver. So far so good. So I'm going to drive this thing around off camera, just get a feel for the old girl, and then we will you know, visit back tomorrow and we'll see what we think about it, if there's anything we don't like. But so far, a pleasurable experience. And once again, whether you're a fan or you're not a fan of this new generation Toyota Tundra, I implore you, head to a dealership and take a test drive, just so, you know, if you're not liking it or you're complaining about it, you have something to complain about, because I know a lot of people aren't happy that they got rid of the V8, but you really want to get yourself in this and get a feel for these new engines, because they're no slouch. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about the Capstone? Is it something that you would consider, or would you go another direction with a different trim? And if that's the case, and you would go with another trim, I need to know what trim you're gonna go with. So until next time, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at TundraDude34, TundraDude34@gmail.com. You guys have a great day, be safe, and be well. Thank you for watching First Drive Impressions with the Capstone.